This is Future Sight, a Warmachine Hordes show covering games, events, theory, the meta and more. If you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content at KS Wargaming. Thanks and enjoy.
Get on a team is it will force me to just stick to one faction. You know.
We are live.
Are we live?
Everything is working. Hooray. There we go. So,
Yay.
Welcome to Future Sight, episode 23, all about the new meta. So, welcome. So, I'm Dan. I'm joined, as usual, by Evan. And we've also been joined by Ben Thomas, who's getting on board for some more Warmachine, this chat about everything.
Hello.
So yeah, thanks for everyone joining us. And obviously we've done this show before, but it was before a humongous update. So a couple of people have asked on YouTube that we'll if we review it again. And I think there's enough shit has gone by already. Enough events have happened. We've seen things shuffle around. I think we're ready for it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Seems good. So so obviously I'm just going to say hello to Ben, as he's obviously come on board and done all the VTC commentary with me. That was super cool. So Ben, do you want to say hello and just give us who you are before we get kicked off on
sure. So
on this trash?
For those who don't know me, my name's Ben Thomas. I've been in the game since the sort of the later days of Mark II. I got about the last year of that, just as Body and Soul and Runes of War were the only things you saw on the table.
It was God, and that was your exposure, and you stuck with it. Fuck me.
It was delightful. Yeah. I sort of thought, you learn the game in that situation, and then everything gets shaken up. And Mark III was a good leveler, and I sort of got good in inverted commas at that point. And yes, I'm predominantly Ret and Minions player. I have sort of played Minions mainly since the WTC in 2019, which is the most recent one, unfortunately. Recently back onto Ret again. I'm sure we'll, as we go through the tier list, it might become apparent why. But yeah, no, it's great to be on. It was great to do the VTC commentary, which sort of gave a lot of insight into sort of making this tier list as well, sort of being able to see the breadth of stuff that we saw over that weekend, as I think gives us the right to make definitive decisions about this.
Oh yeah, for sure. So before we'll tread lightly, but before we go in, let's do an honesty. So I am playing Retribution at the moment. I've only just sort of started getting my feet with them again. So Retribution and Grimkin are my armies. I've got rid of my convergence, not because they're bad or anything, but one of my good mates had real seller's regret for getting rid of his, and I was like, he's like, oh shit, I have to buy all this stuff again. So I was like, well, I did him a solid, and I was like, well, I always said I'd have just 2 armies, so it made more room in my cupboard and basically helped out pay for extra bits from my ret. So yeah, I'm back down to 2. What are you playing at the moment, Evan?
So I'm still on Legion. I keep threatening to switch over to Circle, but I still need inspiration.
I thought you'd taken the plunge.
I need inspiration to hit me for how I'm going to paint up these little assholes. So basically, I need to paint up my Death Archons, and then I'll switch over to Circle. But I'm a bad man. I keep rebuilding new Twins lists, and then I just have to play them. So hopefully on the weekend, Retribution will beat the Twins out of me, and I'll go back and I'll move over to Circle. But for now, I'm still obsessed.
What's on the weekend you're doing? Is that one of the Brighton or London?
No. It's just Dan Pedrick coming over, and he's going to shoot me down with his Ret. So just going to.
I think if I ever like succumb to the lure of Circle Christmas, I'd have to do mine as like full on like Celtic craziness of doing woad on everything, that sort of thing.
I did a little bit of that where you've got multiple of the same minis. Like I've got 6 Scarsfells hunting around. I kind of went and looked up a couple Celtic runes to count up their to number them at the back. But I actually did those as a kind of modeled their skin tone of sort of up a North African, and then you've got the weird what's it called of them. They've got the sort of Aztec masks on the Fawn ladies.
Yeah.
So it makes for a really interesting look.
I can get that. So, and obviously, your Ben, we've just discussed in the precast, is that you're on Ret as well.
Yeah, I abandoned minions post update. Playing Archon Machine was great fun before that, and then PP took all my toys away. And unless you want, we'll come on to this, but unless you want to play Rask, it feels like minions aren't quite there at the moment.
Yeah.
So I've gone back to my old love. Gone back to Ret. Unfortunately, having sold it all and bought a new, so I'm.
Well, yeah, right. Same as me, right? We've literally.
I don't understand how you guys do that. Like, if you've spent time painting it, just stick it in the cupboard and pull it out again in 3 years' time. I don't understand selling models you've painted.
Mine's about like storage space, and I kind of like make sure that my hobby funds my hobby as much as possible. So if I want to buy a new hobby, I've got to sell some stuff to make the dollar to buy the new stuff. Just a big circle of life in my house for.
Subscribe to Dan on Twitch.
Yeah.
Help him hobby fund.
Yeah. Man,
It's not shilling if I say it.
I spent quite a bit of money last year on like doing things like to be able to do like the multi-stream, to stream to like Twitch and Facebook at the same time. And like my rig I could have done it to YouTube as well at the same time, but like there's no way my internet connection was handling three simultaneous. It just would die. But like that's like £100 down the pan for something that I probably didn't need to. But like at the same time though, it keeps me.
It's like 2 Ride Quest solos.
A fucking one box of Northkin Raiders.
The main reason I sold it and then I'm not bothered about buying it and repainting it is I am a far better painter than I was 5 years ago when I originally painted my Ret, and
fair enough.
At it towards the end made me feel sick.
Yeah, I think I'm 100% in the boat with you there. So my Ret were like speed painted, and they were basically just sprayed gold and then a thick slap of purple on the bits that I needed to be purple. Whereas now I'm like, I've got the airbrush, I've got all these like little extra tools, I've got a lot more time on to put into to make them look pretty.
I like looking at some of the older models and seeing how my paintings come on. Like, I still have the first models I ever painted was 10 Plague Bearers.
Oh wow!
And they look
wrong with Plague Bearers though.
You know, I'll try to make them look like shit, and they still look shit even by that standard. They are freaking abysmal. They are so bad. But it's kind of cool being able to see, like, okay, my painting's come a long way since then.
Yeah,
my painting's also a lot slower now as well.
I've got a Great Unclean one from when I was like 16, which is like one of the earlier models I painted. But like, I don't know if you've seen them, but yeah, just a few years ago. That is like like 60 years ago, whatever. And but obviously, like the Great Unclean ones now are like, the Great Unclean ones then are basically like the same size as like a Warmachine solo now.
This model scale creep is real. Yeah. It's very real. They're legitimately. I mean, I'm looking here at Thagrosh Zero, and the Great Unclean one there is probably 50% again the size of Thagrosh Zero, like the size of a small warjack.
Yeah. I absolutely despise the idea of stripping models as well. So, like having a new army that I don't need to strip, rather than going back and going. Oh, this is stuff I painted and I hate it. I need to do it again.
For me, it's worse than that, Dan. Because of the way that models work in this community, I've obviously
you probably got some of your own, right?
My own rep back. It's gone full circle. It's gone through about 3 hands. Some of it we've tracked.
It's a little incestuous, isn't it?
It is. But I've then, because I hate how they're painted, I have stripped my old.
After buying them back. Oh, Pete's sake.
At least if I do end up having to buy some more stuff that is secondhand, I've got a Sonic cleaner that's like arriving tomorrow finally. I've bit the bullet, gone, yeah. So, thanks Luke, who's in the chat, for for opening my eyes. Yes, it's done my airbrush a fucking world of good, shifting it through Sonic Cleaner for like 5 minutes, and then I can actually strip models without wanting to die. So, which is good. So that's where we are. So be aware there might be a bit of bias, like Evan secretly loves Infernals and wants them to be good, is denying the lure of Circle, and is currently a Legion player. And obviously, me and Ben are both elf lovers.
I don't know I don't know. Do I still qualify as a Crix player? I think I've played less than 10 games in 4 years. They're still the largest collection of models I own.
Have you played Card Chef 2?
I have not.
You're not a Crix player.
You can count as not a Crix player.
Right. There we go. It's a definitive answer.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So let's jump into what we're here to talk about tonight. So we're looking at the new post update 2022 faction tier list, and see where we think everything lies. I think this will just quickly cover the general state of the game before we dive in too far. And I think if you take out certain factions or certain lists that were mega dominant before a few nerfs and updates, I think the factions are in a really, really solid spot where there's that gap between the top and the bottom has shrunk even more. Generally, there's a couple of outliers. Cartier, but but generally speaking, I think that the game and the balance is looking really, really solid. And maybe some of the things, I think some of the places, say Infernals, where they kind of a lot of the Infernal players think they're at the bottom of the heap. I'm like, but if they came out as they are right now with access to some of the new Hearts of Darkness lists as well. But you haven't seen them before in their ridiculous sense, then you might be putting them a lot higher than you're giving them credit for. I think that's. But obviously that's. And I played a good 20-30 games of Infernals doing CID. I was full on I'm going to buy these until the release schedule was a problem. But But we'll see.
Well, I have tentatively put together where the tier list before in preparation before we started. And
you have done way more prep work than the rest of us. So
I've got the overlay shit and the actual the graphics side sorted, and hopefully hopefully got my kids to bed a little bit later, so they'll sleep through. But we'll see. So
yeah, my prep consisted of turning off Elden Ring like that.
It looks good, but it looks like a big time sink. Can't bring myself to it.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is.
So as we've said, we think I think everyone is on board with the fact that the game's in a fantastic spot rules wise. So let's start
I
at the top.
so.
And I say start at the top. Let's do Warroom order as is
tradition.
Yeah, it's tradition.
Right.
So we start with Signar. Last time we did this, we did a little bit of what we think the different tiers were going to be.
Yes. So the same. We won't go through the whole thing, but the same basic premise. We're looking at the bleeding edge of the meta, the top tiers. So it's not so much what's the overall. If you just took random caster, this is really it's on the competitive level. Where do you rate everyone? Yeah. So for that, we take the top, say 2 to 4 casters, depending on how deep the bench is.
Yeah, per faction, and then we would say that the S tier is the stuff that really is crushing things at the moment, and if you aren't prepared for it, then you are going to be crushed.
This is the shit you need to build for. You need an answer for this, or you're going to be caught with your pants down.
Yeah, and I think we said the A tier was basically just some of the top lists in the game, but aren't necessarily something you've 100% got to prep for. But S is you need to dodge this or be crushed. I'd say A you need to prep for, but you don't necessarily have to build a list to handle it. Yeah. So you need to be prepared for it, but you don't need to actually like tech completely into it and know you've got your one thing that can deal with it, and then it's just naturally then we'll upgrade from there. So B is really good, still very solid, all the way down to just use common sense. D is the dumpster where it belongs. Cool, right? So we'll jump into Signar. Let's start with Ben as our newest member. Where would you start with Signar?
And who would you think are the casters that you base it on?
Well, yeah.
Haley 3, Striker 1, Siege.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you've got it. Like,
Striker 2, I guess. He's not become a bad caster overnight.
Yeah, he's always viable. I've seen quite a bit of Haley 2 recently as well.
I think she's lost a little bit because obviously the nerf to the feet where things like Colossals can just like off and just come
that did hurt her a lot.
She's just wannabe Kruger, isn't she? Let's be honest.
Yeah. But I think if
there can be only one Highlander rules.
If I was looking at the top 3 casters, I'm 100% with Ben. It'd be Haley 3, Siege 1, and Striker 1.
I can't argue with any of that.
But I think
is it Siege 1 though, or is that just Daniel?
That's Daniel. That is Siege 1 trick. I mean, yeah.
But plenty of people have seen how good it can get, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is there an argument that Nemo 3 is a decent alternative to Siege 1?
Possibly, especially with Karchev on the table. That's I know. I think that was what Golly said was his thinking behind Nemo 3 for the VTC. So yeah, I can accept that he's an outlier. Same as like Sloan. I think will always be like an outlier for a really good caster.
Yeah, Sloan's a scare list. Sloan's just a scare list that people have stopped being scared of, probably incorrectly.
Yeah, possibly. So where would you put them, Ben? From S to D.
I'd put them A, and on the basis of I think those certainly 2 casters in terms of Haley 3 and Striker 1.
Yeah,
you've got to know what those casters are doing. You've got to understand how they're going to try and play the game, and you've got to know how you're going to play into them. On top of that, as we've just been discussing, they've got decent depth and decent, if nothing else, specific problem-solving lists that they could pair with either of those.
Yeah.
So for that, I would say A for Signar.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I think especially the Striker and Haley lists are like that.
Yeah, I'm not quite as positive on them. I mean, no. Haley 3 is always good. I'd probably put them at B. They're just like the questions they ask are a lot easier to answer nowadays. Like, an Armor 27 Stormwall sounds really intimidating right up until it gets hit in the face with a Power 30 Warp Wolf, which is disturbingly common now.
Yeah, but like, I think it takes an awful lot to break through like something like a Blockader or a Galleon or a Stormwall. With a Death Archon behind it, under Striker's feet with Archon.
Yeah, the Death Archon has pushed that up a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't die on that hill. I'm not quite sure I put them at A. I'd want to revisit them when we see what else is in A and B tier.
I would say also, Evan, is that you're sitting nice and happy there down south. You're miles away from Brett.
And Golly.
We
got Brett and Golly like on our doorstep.
Yeah, but I mean, like this is. I mean, you can't base it on the specific players. Like this was like the JVM effect when Legion was shit. Like, well, Legion was still winning because Jake is Jake, and it was the same thing.
Yeah,
it's more, I think it's more that that especially Haley is like a really high skill cap caster, and we're seeing her utilised at or near that skill cap, where she can just dominate an awful lot of games.
I've always been so jealous of Haley 3 not being in any of the factions I play. That is such a cool caster.
Yeah,
she's a huge part of the reason I'm currently going back to Vyros 2. Vyros 2 was always a really good counter to her in the day, and I don't think anything's changed there. So
fair.
Except you've just got faster for free, right? For the Griffins.
And more defense.
Okay.
What are you seeing with her? Gravediggers still, or have people gone heavy metal?
Well,
Yeah,
bit of Gravediggers or some Storm Division as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
She runs a decent couple of Storm Lancers because they've got the good armor. Those
Yeah.
Storm Lancers at defense 15 are all of a sudden a real pain to deal with.
And if you're going to if you're going to bring models back to life, Storm Lancers are pretty solid targets.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Yeah. So we'll put them at A currently, and then see if Evan can talk us down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so here's maybe the first the first sad trombone noise is we're a Menoth at the moment. What do you think, Evan?
I mean, I'm tempted to try to put them at S just to troll Paul and Brian, but Menoth. It's funny. I look at the individual pieces and I can't see anything wrong, and yet, like, I haven't seen any consistent lists. I don't know.
So I think if we talk about like the top three maybe. So I think Fiora 4 has made it into the top three. She's like legitimate different play style for Menoth, where she's got like a very very real assassination option that Menoth don't often
That's
have.
interesting.
And then
Malachus.
Yeah, Malachus seems real.
Malachus is always
popular
the
too.
big damage output.
Yeah.
Are we seeing much Resnick too? I know Paul was fiddling with that a bit, but I don't know if he ever got anywhere.
This week that I keep on seeing Resnick too, but I don't like him. I don't think he's particularly good.
Lamentation. There are so many in the meta at the moment.
Yeah.
Just have a look at how many 3 and 4 cost spells have snuck into the meta and made Lamentation a much bigger deal. There's a lot of
it's really solid.
I guess it's a bit of maybe it's just not good into what I'm playing, but if you drop Resnick into Kruger and your Jacks are immune to spells, and then you're like, can you afford to cast anything and still camp? And obviously his Jack gets to go an awful long way if Resnick can just pop forward and kill something. Then suddenly there's a significant threat on a heavy.
I don't see lists I'm really scared of. I think Resnick is really interesting. He shuts down my favorite caster. The Twins can't play into him, which is very upsetting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never feel right putting them all the way down in D, but I'd stick them at C comfortably. I think Menoth are not in a great shape right now.
Yeah. I don't think they're out and done for, but I think they're definitely not in a good spot. I think C sounds pretty reasonable to me. To be fair.
I had put them B, but I'd put them B and a half. I think, and I think that the half was because I saw a different side of Menoth at the VTC watching those 2 games that Pear played.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I think C's a fair.
Yeah, I think that's the same sort of thing we were just talking about really with Brett and Golly. That
absolutely.
That if you watch like the VTC streams and you've watched Pear playing, then you're watching someone that's been playing Menoth for a very long time and has pretty much got mastery of the faction.
We'll be upsetting people. We'll be upsetting people. Protectorate.
Nah, they're Menoth.
Oh, for Pete's sakes. When they start doing better, they can bitch about their name.
Yeah, they can rebrand.
In the right.
But I think that's obviously they're good enough that if you're a really good player, you can make something happen.
I hear you, Pedro, but you need to earn it.
Justice for Menoth. You've got to really search for something good and play it to death to know what you're doing. So that's Menoth. Our current bottom, obviously we just started. So Kador's next. So I'm going to say Kador or Kador. It's Kador, right?
Yeah,
We're not in anywhere else. So we talked
the
about
red
this.
and blocky.
Yeah, we talked about this in the first tier list we made, and we said that Karchev was coming, and how much it would jump them. So let's go over what our caster choices would be then. So top 3. So
I almost have to look at this differently. It's because the next 2 factions. This is going to be the conversation. Let's be honest. It's Karchev 2
it's Karchev and something else. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's so many good options for something else. There's Vlad 2, who's evergreen. Zerx 2, who is scary as hell.
I think the best player is Zakova 1 in Flames. That list is terrifying.
Yeah,
into that list.
I'm fully with you. Like anything that Zerx 1 is amazing. Who else have I seen that's really scary? And Old Witch 2 is still incredible. Like you can never write her off.
Yeah, I think so. I've had this discussion with like some of the Welsh team this week, where we've been like starting to build like matrices and stuff. And I think Kador is in a very weird spot where you basically, rather than listing your top 3 casters to worry about, it's Karchev to worry about, and then any number of a few casters that can run Flames, Zakova 2 on her own, and Zakova 1 and 2 on their own with their own special lists, and then either Doom Reavers who have fallen out of favour a little bit, or playing like a full-on gun list with all the Rocketeers.
Or Armoured Core.
You've got like a real variety of where you want to go with it.
The scariest thing for me about Kador is it just feels like there is still some lists out there to be discovered. There's got to be something in Sorcerer 3 with her new rules. I think there is more to come from Kador, and it terrifies me.
Yeah. So, I mean, my vote here is definitely S tier.
I am without a doubt with you there. I think Karchev is an absolute terror, and then they've got either the ridiculous sprays to basically be an off list with Zakova 2, the ridiculous defensive and control tech that Zakova 1 brings in Flames, or just brings a better gun line than you're going to hope to bring against Karchev.
Just Vlad for Vlad's sakes. I mean, that Vlad 2 Armored Core is bloody insane.
Yeah, that was really cool to watch.
It's horrific.
Well, yeah.
We are at the point now where it feels like a lot of factions have come up with an anti-Karchev 2 list. And so now what's going to happen is Kador are going to come up with some anti-Karchev 2
Exactly.
lists.
Yeah, and I think the current feel seems to be that if you're going to bring a kick-ass gun line to blow Karchev's jacks off the table before he gets it far enough onto you, Kador are going to look at either their Winter Guard or their Armoured Core and say, well, we're going to bring a better gun line, and Vlad's going to prop them up, or we're going to have this ginormous...
Or Zakova 1 will turn all the guns off and do cloud.
Or the Old Witch 2 will shut them down with an 18-inch windstorm. Like, they have options. It's just what shakes out as the best, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're all agreed that they are definitely the first of the S tier. So let's slide over and see where Karchev's other faction sit. So Crix. So the first time round, I think we put Crix as like C or D. They were like
we put them as D. We put them as D tier. The Crix Facebook group were very upset with us.
They were really, but we talked about how when Karchev arrived,
I stand by it.
It would change everything for them, and
it really would. It really would. It really did. I really want to put them as D again, just to troll the group.
Justice for the Dragon Father.
They have still got Karchev 2, and I actually think in many ways their Karchev 2 is better than Legion's Karchev 2.
Yeah,
whatever that stupid Warjack is called,
the Desecrator.
The Shred one.
The Desecrator with the crit shred
is ludicrous.
And a very, very good gun too.
Silly. It's actually got Accumulator Bane, which it doesn't even use in the list.
Doesn't matter. You got Gatsby 4, they throw him down as well. It's a further armored debuff. It's a cloud wall that you can put up as well.
You've got Dara who who basically serves the same purpose as a Death Archon, and he does it without having to pick up a corpse each turn. No, it actually has a range game. It's really interesting.
But
it doesn't tank as hard. It doesn't ask as hard a question.
No. But I actually think there is, and I would say Cricks are A tier on the back of Kharchev too, but on the back of I don't think they can pair. They've got the options for the
They
pair.
don't have great pairing isn't there, so you're still forced to pair with either Scar 1 or Denny 1 because they're really the only competitive casters.
You know what? There's quite a bit of Scar 3 pop floating around.
I love Boaty McBoatface. I would definitely say B just because their pairing's not great. I mean, Kharchev is really strong, but then what?
So I think I'll go with Ben. I think they're in an A spot at the moment because of how dominant Kharchev
just how
is.
Tilting Kharchev is,
and
maybe
like a month or two ago, we thought that Khador Kharchev was just going to like rule the roost. And having now seen some of the Crix Kharchev lists and exactly what they're pulling off, I think Crix. I'm with Ben. I think Crix Kharchev is scarier.
There are some
Khador.
Really good.
So here's the difference. Like Khador Kharchev is a harder gear check. You either have the power to crack it or kill Kharchev, or you don't. Mm-hmm. Like there aren't really anywheres around that where Crix, you can power through Crix Kharchev. Like you can't just present this wall of steel that you can't get through.
Yeah, except for they're much more resilient on the way in, and they don't have to rely on Kharchev for Pathfinder because they've just naturally got it, which means that he's healthier.
I think there are a lot.
No one's relying on Kharchev in Khador. The theme benefit is Pathfinder.
Yeah. Oh yeah, true.
I think there's a lot of lists that you would build to beat Khador Kharchev that might actually just lose to Crix Kharchev.
I mean, they would if I was. Yeah, if I were building Legion to take out Khador Kharchev, I'd be playing Beth 1 with an Archangel, and you're not shooting out Crix Kharchev. Just Carapace is too much even for Beth 1.
Yeah. So we know that at the top of the Crix totem pole then is Kharchev, and then like everything said, Scar 1 is always there for them. Denny 1. I've definitely seen some Denny 1 lists. Scar 3.
Scar 1, Denny 1,
or Coven if you're really scared about the range stuff. But I don't think you need to.
I love the Coven, but I still think they need something. They've taken too many nerfs, and frankly, they weren't in the greatest position when Mark III rolled around to start with.
But I think they're kind of in a similar situation to what we've just talked about Khador being in, where they've got Kharchev, and they've now got a lot of casters that haven't really been explored for like a long while, right? Where they're looking for what do they have to worry about for Crix Kharchev, so they can really put some dark horse lists together. The off list is going to be something that you aren't going to see coming, and if you've come prepped to kill Kharchev,
I don't think you're going to get much dark horsing with Crix.
Do you not think?
No, they don't have the kind of power feats that we were used to in Mark II. And in order to dark horse, you need to, build off some quality that's not being used in your units or jacks. But really, it's about mediocre jacks being turned up to, the best you can get them. And the casters that can do that have been explored. There aren't really units with the quality to kind of unlock and dark horse it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that like if you look at all the casters, the same Crix casters have been played for like a long time now.
Yep.
And some of them have snuck in and out a little bit, like maybe Scavarus and Scar 3, like we said. But when finally we see something that legitimately scares Crix Kharchev, because I'm not sure what really does. Then they can go right.
That's a fair question.
Open the book, start again, and go right. What do we have to worry about? Right. We'll Goreshade with like 40 Banes that all come back to life and just clocks your opponent. Is that the thing that shuts down what the answer to Kharchev is? Yeah, I'm saying that we don't.
That could be interesting.
I don't think we'll see what a good pair for Kharchev will be for maybe like a month or two still down the road. And when people start breaking Crix Kharchev, then we'll see exactly what they'll wheel out, and it'll be out of fucking Mark II something will come back, and we'll be like, oh, look, there's Ghost Fleet, and that somehow is the right answer, or it'll be Denny with just like swarms and swarms of infantry. But who knows, right? That's what I'm saying. Is I don't think we can predict what the pair will be.
Fair enough.
But I think I'm at an A spot for Crix because of the strength of Karchev.
Just on the strength of Karchev, that's a fair argument. Because he is just that strong.
And you were on A already, Ben, weren't you? So
I think so. Yeah, it's. But to be fair, though, when I did this previously, about half the factions I put on A. Because I think, but I think that says a lot about the state of the game.
The balance of the game, yeah.
Like the things that are closest together, the better the game is for everyone. So definitely a good thing. So Retribution. Ooh, so
let's let the non-rep player go first.
Yeah. So what would you say the rep lists? What are the top? The list. 3?
I mean, it's just casters. Kalissa is damn terrifying. Assyria never goes out of style. Been really interesting seeing a lot of Shade 4 lately. What else? And obvious, I haven't seen a lot of Felseer lately, which is surprising. I still think she's one of the top casters.
She's super fell out of favour.
She is so strong. I don't know why she's fallen out of favour.
I can't even remember what changed on it. Was it like the most minor things changed?
You got buffed.
No, so rather than crit, she's got crit amputate rather than just amputate, right?
Yeah, because that was bullshit. Like,
that was a big it definitely was bullshit.
That was right up there with Valen Hauk losing the ability for tormentors to countercharge through each other. Yeah. It was bullshit. It should never have happened, and anyone complaining about its loss is not being honest with themselves.
I'm just sad I didn't get to try it. But so I think you're right though. The top 3 I think probably are.
I would put that as
Kalissa, Assyria, and
I put them as S tier. If you're not prepared, if you're not watching Ret, they're going to catch you out. Ret are really scary.
So you've been on them a little bit longer than me, right? You've been back on them.
Yeah, I've. I didn't want to put them on S, but I don't think I can come up with a particularly good argument for them not being. So, Kalissa is so strong. She can take so many things. Gorshade 4, again, very good lists. And then there's about a dozen or so, about half a dozen or so Forges casters that will do a really good job in that theme. The weakness of them is that they feel a bit like a 2-theme faction at the moment. But that's, not necessarily a huge problem because those 2 themes are really good. So...
Yeah, for our purposes here, that's not really a big deal. Like if you're advising, what people on, which has the most depth, different story. But yeah, for a competitive ranking, I can't see them lower than S.
Are you both saying S? I would have said A, but maybe I'm just not there yet.
Underestimating, yeah.
Well, we talked about this as well, like off the camera. Is that I've been playing Gary 2, thinking because I've met Madrak 3 in every single post like COVID lockdown event I've been to, twice at the last one. So I'm like, I just feel like I'm pigeonholed into mortality. So I'm looking for answers elsewhere. I like Gary, but like I don't want to have to have him as one of my casters. But I can accept that they're in a super good position. Like they're definitely really fun and really flexible. I think Falsey has still got a place. I'm looking for it at the moment because I think she basically like reads like a Grimkin caster to me. So I've just come off Grimkin. I love them. So it's like, well, I'm just like, well, how can I make her work? She's
absolutely a Grimkin caster. Yeah. She is so good.
Yeah, Falsier 2 dual faction. You'll see, right? Definitely some sort of defiler. But so
please.
So I can accept that. That they're in that good a position.
I haven't gone back to Rep because the models are nice. Let's put it that way.
I like some of the new models.
I actually do like their models. They're quite pretty.
The Risavas and the House Elway Wardens, like the sculpts are super nice. Like,
yeah, I do struggle to contain mirth looking at Ret Jacks though. They just do look silly.
Yeah, I need to do my first Ret in the scheme and work out what panels and what sections I'm having what colour to make sure I'm happy with it. Which was a suggestion from my Brett actually at the weekend. We played at our club with like a gaming day, which is cool. So
freehand some heraldry on the cod pieces.
Did I send you this? I found when I was searching for the scheme I wanted, I found some ridiculous like Eldar Wraith Knights with this crazy like freehand scripts all over them. And I know I know it sent it to one of the Full Tilt guys.
I've definitely seen that at some point. I don't know if you sent it or if it was just doing the rounds at some point.
I was like, this is just beautiful, but it will take me like fucking years to get an actual army painted enough. So I've settled on my scheme. I'm really happy with how it looks. So just slowly progressing. But I've got a Legion army and he's paid for someone first. So that's my job. Probably this week is try and just get a big old bulk of Legion painted.
Nice.
So there we go. So Ret S tier sounds good. Convergence. So bit of a different one. So they took a bit of a hit in
how the mighty have fallen.
Like in multiple sections, right? So the Auroras obviously both lost a little bit. And they lost a little bit of like some of the tricks on the off list with things like the like Axis and the bringing on like a blockader, that sort of thing. A blockader on Gatsby, I should say normally. So what do we think, guys?
What do you think the pairing looks like? I've seen people really stretching to kind of settle on casters.
Aurora and Aurora.
I think Aurora and Aurora is still really good, or Aurora and maybe Orion or Aurora and Lucant. So you take the Lucant list to just be an absolute like swing the other way. You can't get through this.
The problem is because I played a decent amount of Convergence before the other day. I played a decent chunk, and what happened is obviously Gatsby 4 came out and it opened up so many options for their sort of Clockwork Legions lists.
Yeah.
Because the main weakness of those lists being that the infantry doesn't threat any distance at all was removed by Bloodthirst. And unfortunately, Mercs happened and Cricks happened and Gatsby 4 and Strange Bedfellows to an extent happened, and Gatsby 4 was so overpowering and Bloodthirst was such a problem in those lists.
I don't agree. It was the most overpowered in Aurora. That's where it was even.
That's what I meant. In Strange Bedfellows as well. In all those other things where it was so good that got taken away, and rightly so. But the Clockwork Legion stuff, which was relying on that to have half decent threat ranges,
suffered
didn't
a bit too
gain
much.
anything.
Yeah, I've argued that I think that Gatsby should have been available just as Cricks and Convergence, and then put some sort of stipulation on the Bloodthirst. So maybe it's like a.
I mean, Gatsby should never have had Bloodthirst in the first place. It was way too much. He's still too good for his point. He's still too good.
I think that the Convergence infantry though is sorely lacking, and that really helps. Like
that's fair, but then fix Convergence infantry. Like don't just stack the hell out of Gatsby.
What he's saying, he's currently trying out Aurora and Locke. I think Locke's got so they do have like a good selection of offcasters.
Luke saying he's trying out Iron Mom, and I have to say, Iron Mother, I've always had a soft spot for her. Like what she used to do with the kind of floaty dildos was really scary.
Yeah, Luke was running, was trying it out. I think like a week or two ago. Basically, seeing if you could bring double tap and just run it like a Crucible Guard. So as if you've got double trains. But obviously they can just dump all their services on one side if something's got shit defense and just go, there you go. Here's my
exactly. They can pump their
ridiculous
damage up to
wise.
stupid,
Yeah.
and they've only got about 15 shield guards each turn, so they still
Yeah.
get shot off the
Yeah.
table. Clearly,
It's whether or not they
You
can
know.
survive any heavy getting into melee with them, because I think that's the problem. Is that if you land a heavy,
Yes.
it probably just finishes it off. 'Cause they're just
Oh,
not
yeah.
durable enough.
2 or 3 infantry take it out.
Yeah. Some of them probably. You're not wrong. Yeah. So we. So going back to the Auroras, obviously. So the big thing they lost was from
they
having
lost
an
2
army-
inches of threat range.
They lost a bit of threat range. They still threat really far, but they also lost blast immunity on tap, right? And that's really big.
Right.
But what's come in is lists have just shuffled around, and you just fit in some swabbers, and everyone flies around them. It's base to base and is blast immune. So you just change your list around, and then you've got basically. So I know Justin Do was running it at VTC. So his Aurora 1 list had double swabbers. So basically, he's got 2 more utility heavies, but they give girded. So they've got girded, so immune to blast damage if you're in base to base, and immune to knockdown if you're in base to base with them as well, which is really fucking good. Obviously, one of the ways to kill Aurora 2 would be you knock her down, because if you knock down a model, they lose flight. So then you shoot her through the range difference. And obviously, the swabbers have got drag guns. So you apparate forward, you walk, you shoot the stuff you want, you drag it in, and then your army finishes off, and then you work out where you are at the end of it. So I think Aurora 1 and 2 are potentially still really scary, and their off list is either the other one or like a couple of selections. So I still think they're pretty high on the the rankings. I think they're underplayed for how good they are right now, because people have either stopped playing them on Wartable and realised they're a bit of a nightmare to play in physical games, because that's what I did, where you're just fucking scattering angels and jacks everywhere as you're trying to do one of those arcade fucking hands where you have to go down directly over a model to pick it up and put it somewhere.
Oh god, yeah.
It's worse than Legion, right? It's worse than Legion with wings and spikes. And
I mean, everyone magnetizes wings on archangels because otherwise you can't reach half your army.
Yeah.
Turn 1 is a
Here's my
nightmare.
big question though is, if you wanted to play Aurora 1 or Aurora 2, why would you do it in Convergence and not do it in Mercenaries, where you've got infinitely better pairs to throw it down with?
Yeah, potential.
True. I agree.
I think like the Osram lists have got stronger as well.
Which is why I'd put them at B, because I don't think they've got a good pairing for Aurora.
I'm kind of halfway between A and B. So what do you think, Ben? What's your the decider?
Honestly, D, bottom of the pile, is where I put them.
D?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, there's a take for you.
Yeah. I think they've fallen that far.
So I think they're still.
But based on that, based on the fact largely that Aurora 1 and Aurora 2 and Strange Bedfellows are both very good lists, but there is no reason, sorry, Luke, no reason to play those in Convergence over playing them in Mercenaries.
Yeah, I can accept that there's a good argument there.
I mean, I hear that argument, but so if we assume that for some god-awful reason you just want to play Convergence, if you had to pair that with, say, so take Aurora 2 and you then pair that with Luke Hunt.
I think Aurora 1's probably the stronger one.
Or Aurora 1. I don't think you could call that pairing a D-tier pairing. I think that's too strong for it, just on the back of Aurora alone.
Yeah, I think similar to Karchev, right? That she on her own is like a B list, and then you take something balanced against what you have to worry about, and that's your counterpoint. So yeah, I'll accept that she's definitely not an A anymore, or definitely not an S anymore. So I think B seems like a begrudging.
A begrudging middle ground.
Yeah, for a Wartable game constantly to prove how wrong I am.
Let's get it on now. It's end stream. Luke's gonna bust some asses. we'll if me and Evan agree on B, we'll have to push you up a bit on this one, Ben. And,
That's fine.
We'll see. We'll see how it lies in a little while.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it lies at the end of it.
So we're coming towards the end of the Warmachine stuff, and another one of the limited factions, Crucible Guard. So I'm just gonna say this.
Oof.
I think Crucible Guard are fucking amazing right now. They are like busting like some serious ass.
Cannot argue with that.
Yeah,
Cannot argue at all.
I put three factions in the S tier. This was the second one.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm definitely an S tier for Crucible Guard. I think they
Yeah, I'm not arguing that
right
at
the
all.
Top of the game, and like it's like a combination of the Lucas rework has been super good for them and has made him so good as a caster, and then like the new additions like the failed experiments and the ascendant mentalists have been like really good, and even things like the stingers have been like super good to add to their like their toolbox. And then
most frustratingly, post CID, almost as one, I assume they've got a Facebook group. Crucible Guard players have remembered that Gearhart is their best caster, and he's now over there again.
He is, and I mean, Silvestro is still amazing.
I think that's
Lucas is bananas. It's so good.
Lucas or Silvestro, and then Gearhart, but Gearhart as your power sort of list.
But then McKay can still ask a stupid question, and you might not have an answer to it.
Yeah.
Locke isn't a bad warcaster.
No, but Locke doesn't quite match up to the rest of them. I wouldn't put Locke in the competitive pairings.
No, I think I put her somewhere behind like Alice, maybe. Take like I think she's a little bit much like the funny sidekick you take, and like compared to some of the like how good and how hard hitting like the top casters are.
The top ones are. Yeah. No, I mean, CG are just taking names. Like, it's hard to argue otherwise.
Even though the Jacks are now like super good, I don't think Locke particularly does enough for them compared to the other guys. Even though she is like a Jack caster, right? I don't think she puts them up to the level that the others can.
No.
Which is weird. But yeah, I think I'm in my books. Yeah, they're undeniably an S tier faction at the moment. Yeah, well done, Crucible Guard players who've waited, and they've kind of sat there going.
You've been on the sidelines for a while.
Well, they came out right, and they didn't really come out like we saw. Obviously, Grimkin came out mega strong. And I think
Infernals came out bonkers strong.
And I think because Crucible Guard followed Grimkin, I think there was like that element where they were maybe overcautious about not wanting to do it again. And it just took a little bit too long to pop them back up.
To be fair to the dev team, they had to be really careful with Crucible Guards. Because coming out like Signar as a shooting faction, if they're overtuned, it's just such a shit game.
Yeah.
Like
I really like. I've said this before as well. I really like how the aesthetic has changed a bit as well. So that rather than just being like this sort of alchemy sort of based Signar sort of spin off, they're now a little bit more Resident Evil. It's like sort of pop like alchemical sort of tubes stuck into the back of these crazies who are running across the table at what, like speed 8 are they?
It's more of the Jekyll and Hyde thing that you've got with Alice Mack. And that's cool. I mean, I like everything about that, honestly.
I know. I literally would buy some failed experiments just to paint them at some point if I had the time. But as most of us, it's a significant backlog of other shit to paint first. But so Crucible Guard looking strong. So. And let's go on to the other one we've just mentioned and how bonkers they were at release. Evan, what are the top 3 Infernal casters now?
Oh, good God! Can we take Lucas?
Yes, you can. So obviously for so long,
I think Omodamus. Yeah, I think Omodamus is still viable.
You only played them in in Dark Legacy, right? And
only in Dark Legacy.
We're just like writing off Hearts of Darkness completely. There's no point
We weren't.
to it.
Infernal players weren't writing off Hearts of Darkness. People were experimenting with it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't fun. It's the same reason that I don't play Old Witch in Grimkin.
Yeah.
It's not that she's bad. She's clearly good. She was a staple of a lot of pairings. But you played Grimkin because you wanted something different, and the Arcana were fun. They were very different. Same story with the Infernals. You wanted the Infernal Masters. You wanted the summoning. You wanted the essence mechanic. It was something very different.
Yeah.
Why would you go through all the effort of getting a limited release faction just to put a couple of crappy infantry pieces and solos onto a Signar list?
Yeah.
And I have the same objection to kind of Hearts of Darkness now, even though you'll probably find Omodamus Lucas is likely your best pairing. I haven't built it because I just couldn't be asked. Like, there's no ways I'm combining those two things.
So what do you
I think
play?
Omodamus.
So
it's. Yeah, I mean, Omodamus I do think is still solid. The buff to Howlers is really significant. You can easily just drop one. You drop one Tormentor from his list, you add in a full unit of Howlers, and it now can hit hard enough to actually matter.
Yeah.
And that really does swing things quite a bit for him, gets him back on the table.
I think with regards to Hearts of Darkness, you look at some of the other casters that we've talked about as we've been going through the Warmachine factions, and a lot of them are actually, a lot of the Hearts of Darkness available casters are ones that are seeing play within their own factions. We mentioned Sloane, we mentioned Fiora 4. These are all things that Infernals can take in and potentially make something out of. I think.
But why would you want to? I don't understand why you would want to do it. Like, it's not like Hearts of Darkness is bringing anything unique. If you want to play Fiora, okay, bad example. I was about to say just play Menoth, but let's look at them. They're shoring up that C category. But if you wanted to play Lucas, kind of your comment about Aurora, just play Crucible Guard. They do it so much better. They play Lucas so much better than Infernals does. Like, it's just, I don't see the point there. I keep wanting to make the Harvester work, but it's really hard. Like, stuff jumps on you really quick. Like, the speed of the game doesn't give you a lot of time to make use of the Harvester. I mean, I definitely feel Infernals are sitting at D tier. They can't take any sort of a punch or even a couple of hand cannons without falling over. And it's not a pretty time.
But they can still make a heavier return. And
they can make a light every turn. They make a light every turn.
That happens to be on a large base.
It's on a large base, but it's got this. It's got the same. What's the name? It's got the same hitboxes as a Menoth Light, with less armor and lower defense. Like, it's not a heavy. Make no mistake.
But they do hit just as hard, right? Nothing.
They do hit. They do hit as hard, but they're too slow to really get to do that on their own terms. So basically, as long as you're facing anything that isn't Menoth, you're getting charged. You're not doing the charging.
Okay, well, I don't. I think that Infernals are being underrated, undersold at the moment. I think that, you know, there's when you're warpathing or road to warring or whatever, like, particular version that Zatroth has got, you do threaten far enough. And you know, if an Infernal Heavy gets onto your Jack, it's going to kill your Jack. You know, it might kill your Jack and half the Jack next to it, or on a good day, both Jacks. You know,
I mean, they're still living in a world of Death Archons. That's not guaranteed by any stretch.
This is true, but like, Infernals have got a lot of ways to, like, reach out and touch you, right? Between the guns, the sprays, the assaults, black spot. You line up a good black spot target, or bring Agathon and just be like, well, I could just guarantee to kill your Archons.
Yeah, look, like, Agathon is still really. I mean, Agathon's still good. The casters are great. Like, you look at the actual caster cards, like Agathon and Zaataroth. You look at their cards and it's like, holy crap, these would be S tier casters in any other faction.
Yeah,
without
actually,
question.
See, I still think they're like maybe not as high as A, but I think they're still like hovering around like a B, maybe a C or a B.
I think
and when
I'm
you add like Fiora 4 and
the lack of viable heavies just sinks them.
you think that's the thing that just signs their death warrant.
Yeah.
So I'll accept that you're both in agreement. Look at that. That is literally from S to D.
From S to D, in 1 year.
Oh, Infernals. On the plus side, there's new Infernalists on the way. They'll be here in I think this month. We'll see the first stuff about Orgoth. Emmanuel said on the Primecast. So if you loved Infernals when they were ridiculous and broken and hard, then maybe there's hope for you.
I just want a bit of help back to the Tormentor, and I want Soul Snakes to be good. Just buff the Soul Snake. Give it one point of strength. Jeez,
it's a gorgeous.
Just something.
Well. Yeah,
it's a lovely mini. It's got a lot of place in the faction, but just push up the strength.
Yeah, right. We're gonna change the order ever so slightly just to get the rest of the Warmachine factions out of the way. So let's go on to Mercs before we deal with the Hordes.
Yes, that makes sense.
So, I think Mercs. Did we have Mercs as an S or an A last time? I think one of the two for sure. And I think obviously we've discussed how good
I think
Aurora
we were S tier last time.
Yeah, and I think we've discussed how good Aurora is still now. And I think Ostrom has got better. And I think Ashlyn has got better. So Fiora's got a bit worse, but Ashlyn's got better. And yeah, Aurora's kind of is fine if you tech to basically mitigate the thing that she lost out on. So and I think Ostrom definitely has got better with ridiculous things like Princess with Snipe seems pretty good.
Yes.
Or fire.
That's silly.
Is it fire for effect? The boosted.
Fire for effects. The boosted first shots.
That seems pretty good when she's coming in. I'll come in with my
played
and all my other guns.
I played some snipe princess in Grim 2. Can confirm it's bonkers.
It is so silly. It is so silly.
The one thing I sincerely hope that we get this year is we get a mini crate version of Princess that doesn't look like a piece of shit. Because I hate the aesthetic of her.
It really is over the top.
Make her some sort of crazy like Charlie Theron from Mad Max.
There's no ways for her mini not to look over the top because her rules represent exactly that. She's just carrying too many guns. That's her concept.
I accept that, but I don't like the fact that she's in like a fucking Belle dress from Beauty and the Beast style. And I'm like,
I kind of like that. I must say,
just make her into some sort of gritty like sort of sci-fi killing machine, and I'll be happy.
Fair enough.
So where do we think then? So would you say that's fair then? Like caster wise, I think Ashley 1 and 2 are looking really strong at the moment. Ostrom is looking really strong. Aurora 1 obviously or 2 depending on your flavour.
I think you've got to give a bit of a nod to Cephalix as well. Cephalix got a whole host of buffs.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's worked out whether it's enough yet. I don't know if.
Yes, always been like this tiny.
Thexus is still an 8 focus TK caster. Like that is, and he's got a halfway to Kruger feat.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Cephalix has always been like this underplayed element of Mercs, and I love the aesthetic. I think they look super cool. But I don't think
they suffer from most people. They suffer from most people who played Cephalix treat them as their own faction.
Yeah, and I
guess Merc players don't play Cephalix, and Cephalix players don't play Mercs.
Yeah, I guess
and I think they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, if you're a generic Merc player, then you just like run all sorts of things. But if you want to dip your toe into Thexus, you've got to basically buy another mini faction.
A whole new faction.
So I see why that puts people off like going in. You can't just dip your toe into Cephalix. You're either you're in or you're out. But yeah, I think Mercs are definitely a very healthy A. Maybe,
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Maybe
I don't
higher,
think I'd go
but
higher,
I'm not sure.
but yeah.
I'm not sure they would be. Yeah, I don't think there's dominant enough.
So I wouldn't put them S purely because the downgrade in the Auroras has meant that you don't have to tech for them. They're always scary. You have to play and practice for them, but they're not scary enough that you have to tech for them like Kharchev does.
Yeah. So as we go, let's just shuffle things around a little bit. So in the A tier, we'll start at the top. So in the S tier, we've got Kador, Retribution, and Crucible Guard. Do we think they sit in that order?
Do we care about order?
What we did last time.
We did last time. You know what? Let's revisit that once we've done the others.
At the end. That's not a bad call. Right. So we're on to the Hordes factions. So we start with Trolls and Matt. These have been the underdog for so long, and now they're kicking fucking ass. It's kind of nice to see.
Copy paste everything we said about Signar into Trolls.
Yeah. I mean, here's the real question: Is Maddie 3 tilting enough to push them to S, or do they stay in A? Is my question.
I think
I don't have a good answer yet.
So I think yes, because if you can't deal with Maddie 3, it will just shit on your pair completely, and you're done.
It's the Kharchev effect,
yeah, and then obviously and then you've got the options of coming with.
Unlike Crix, they've got good options to pair it with.
Yeah, and they do because I like Colgrimmer and Gunny 2 are like the real popular ones. But I've seen people talking about Bearker.
I've been seeing some Gristle 2s, some Gristle 2 which look very similar to Gunny 2 lists.
Yeah,
but with a lot of knockdown assassination potential.
Yeah. So I think Mandrak 3 is enough to squeeze them into S, probably at the bottom of S. But it's just so oppressive. If you can't
I could go either way. I could go either way. What's your feeling on that one, Ben?
I would say not quite for me, because if Mandrak 3 had good units, like if he had Legion units, if he had Ret units or something like that, then absolutely yes. But he's doing it really on one of two things. He's either doing it on a load of Creel Warriors or a load of Femblades. And
yes, I mean what's it typically? It's one unit of champions that's just a Nightmare Tomb shift. There's usually Creel Warriors, and then either I've seen Fenblades, double Fenblades, or Tuffalos.
So the popular options I think are in Band of Heroes with a unit of champs, and then double Femblades, and then like stone and stuff to mix. Like sometimes there's Tuffalos in. I'm not sure that's better. I think that's probably worse. But I think the strongest one is the one that John Henry's running in Storm in the North, where he's taken triple Creel Warriors.
He's just gone Creel Warrior crazy. Yeah,
all with double Cabers. So you've basically got Carapace on like most of your army.
Everything's Carapace.
Yeah, and then a unit of Northkin Raiders. Sort of leading the way. Basically,
he's not even interested in killing anything. He's just running at you and watching your clock die.
There is, but there is. If look at the pair that you are currently playing, and you will, I've no doubt, find in it something that deals with a lot of Mandrak 3's problems. By accident.
There's a lot of mortality coming back into the game that really hurts him.
There's a lot of upkeep removal, I think, is creeping back into the game as well. It deals with the Defender's Ward unit nicely.
Yeah. I think I'll agree.
That's fair.
I think maybe where we look at things like Kharchev being the dominant force for the other factions, if we say Mandrak 3 is the dominant list for Trolls, I think there
are a lot of answers to him that don't exist.
It's easier to find answers to him that also can play into like the other things you're likely to see. So I think high up in A, but A rather than S.
Definitely,
I'll take that. So Circle.
Kruger.
Circle.
I mean, Circle. You know what? I think we all. It's the elephant in the room. D tier. Circle needs Kruger needs Field Marshal, Fighting Touch. Just justice for Kruger. Circle needs help. We all know it.
Poor Circle. Poor Circle. Like
As
legitimately.
I said at the start of this, I've been playing this game since the later days of Mark II, and there has been about a 2-month period at the start of Mark III where Kruger 2 was not one of the top 10 casters in the game. He is the most eternal caster in this game. He just will not go away.
And I love him for it because he's the only caster that's ever, meta present that has no mat buff and no strength buff. Like the only one that ever does it. I love him for it. It's amazing. But God, it is getting a bit old, isn't it?
So do you know what the problem is, guys? The problem is Kruger 2 is Matt Wilson's D&D character, and he's never going to let him die, right? This is the thing, right? He played it at college.
He feels like an author insert character, doesn't he?
Yeah, he got him to like level 20 in his like homebrew campaign, and was like, this guy is just going to stay at the top forever.
Oh, fuck.
Comments like this are why you don't get stuff from them, Dan.
But like,
Right, but we do this. They are far from a one caster show because
that's exactly it.
Their living beats got so much better.
They
Slightly
did.
overtuned, maybe, but not by much. They're fair, but they're very good.
But it's left so many options. I mean, Wormwood is just horrifying right now. Bloody Chromac 1 is amazing right now. I think Kaya 2 is stupid. Kaya 2, I think, builds a better Karchev list than Karchev. It's insane.
Yeah, well, we played that, didn't we? Me and you played the
yeah.
matchup. Yeah, I think she's mega good. But like, I think the problem comes with you have to go. Kruger's the best in the faction, and what he had before was like a really, really strong list with loads of tools, and he basically swapped out things like Kogan and Marvin and Mayhem for a bunch of living heavies that now hit you and like can basically just brute force through
Melvin
anything.
2 and all of the other bullshit.
And that was
his list hasn't gone anyway. It's still
but Kruger's
crazy.
weakness was whether or not he could break through if you brought enough armor. And now the answer is he can.
Of course he can. Of course he can. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
It's just.
So I think it's a similar thing for me. Kruger is the S caster for Circle and puts him in S, and then they've got such a variety of really.
I think
really
Wormwood
strong
is an
armies.
S tier caster. He is bananas strong. And
I
then
don't know if I agree with
and then
Wormwood
you've
is.
got
I think he's really good.
Then you've got about 3 casters out that are A tier that all could be alternate.
Yeah, I think you got Kruger at the top, and then you've either got Chromac 1, which shuts down so many armies, just going no casting within 16 inches of him or whatever, right? No casting or arcing, and then like Kaya, like you said, or some lists still can't deal with like the Boulder, bring in a giant stone monkey.
Oh God, Boulder 2's coming back. Oh, I do not love that.
I still wouldn't put them S tier though.
You not? You think
really?
A?
Yeah, because you look at the other things we've got up there. I think the main difference between you look at your Kadors, your Rets, your Crucible Guards, they are strong in a very, very proactive way.
You don't think Kruger is?
To an extent, I don't know. I just don't think he.
It's so easy for him to reach out and touch you from just ridiculously far away. He has so many tricks, and if you don't engage with him, he just beats and wins on scenario.
Yeah, I think he's more oppressive than he's ever been.
Yeah, I agree. The power of right quest solos hasn't lessened.
Yeah, it hasn't diminished enough. And then having that off list where he can just go, what am I actually worried about? Do I care about Karchev? If I do, then I can bring Wormwood or Kaya. Do I care about? I think what he probably cares about is, by the sounds of it, is Crucible Guard most.
Maybe,
but
yeah.
you could just tech for that thing that Kruger doesn't want to see. I think he's above some. I think he's above Rhett on the S tier. Not sure about.
I'd agree with that.
Regard, but I think he's enough with. It's not just he's enough. It's he's enough with his partner in crime, whoever
he's got such strong partners in crime to pair with that.
Yeah.
I don't see an issue with him. I'd be very surprised not counting him as scary, if not more than Kador.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. He's a scary, a very scary place.
Outvoting there on. Kruger.
Would you have put them if you got to say? Would you put them just like high A instead? Then Ben?
Yeah. There's no question on A.
Not much in it. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Right. Well, let's look at Evan's current faction next. Let's look at Legion. We'll let you lead with it, mate. And what are the top 3 for Legion?
So Legion doesn't have a top 3. Legion's got like a top 6. It's such a nice faction to be playing right now. So I mean, there's been a lot of love for Mechanolith because she's something different now to play with.
She is fucking good,
and she is really good.
Yeah.
Vale 1's coming back into the meta. Both the Bethanes are still bananas strong.
Yep.
Who else? Krissa is still amazing.
She sends stuff hella far.
She's I'd say those 5 are enough to build your pairing, honestly. Like that's a really strong lineup. Yeah. I don't think anything asks a hard enough question to put them at S tier, but definitely like a strong A tier. Ooh, I'm giving a challenge. Let's hear this.
I think they are. For me, they're the number 1 faction in the game. I think.
Really?
Ooh,
I do.
Some good spice.
Yeah. Here we go. I'll tell you for why. They have got pretty much every buff you need before you put a caster in the list. You've got armor buff without a caster. You've got speed buff without a caster. You've got whatever the hell Thagros Zero is doing these days.
You've got a problem.
Accuracy and defensive buff.
But here's your problem. It's true until you pick a what's it called? It's true right up until you pick a theme. As soon as you pick a theme, then suddenly it goes out the window a little bit. So look, some of the things are always there. Sorry?
Only if you pick one of the bad ones.
No, so if you want Thagros, that's in Oracles, which is a not great theme, or in Primal Terrors, which is a bad theme. If you want the Black Frost Shards, that's again Oracles or what's it called? Children of the Dragon. The actual good theme doesn't let you take any of those, which is Ravens. Like, you really have some pretty hard choices there.
I think Oracles is a really good theme, because you can take all the good models.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's the only thing it really has going for it, is that you get access to the toys you want.
You
think about any list you build.
You get rerolls from taking Ice Witches. You can just any list can take Mechano Shredder. You can take Black Frost Shard if you need harm. If you want a bit more of an armor swing, you can take Thags if you want to take a ridiculous Typhon. So thanks
for a good. I mean, most of my lists have been built in Oracles for exactly that reason. I want to mix that shit in. But I mean, Oracles isn't a great theme.
Yeah, and I think you're probably in a spot where most of the casters you said, I think Callus 1 as well needs to go in that list.
Oh God, I forgot Callus 1.
Because Callus 1
is
even fucking better.
No, Callus 1 asks such a hard question.
Yeah.
Actually, Callus 1 might be enough for me to convince me of Ben's stance.
Like, I think having played a couple of games into Mechanolith, I think that she is really, really strong. Like she's
what versions are you looking at? The 4 Ravagor variants?
I've played against her in Children of the Dragon with like Ravagors and Archers, and then like some Raptors, and obviously a bunch of other support solos and stuff like Kralix and the Witches. I've played against her in Primal Terrors, which wasn't awful, to be fair. You just throw your units of Warmongers in front to slow things down while you're bombarding the other side.
Yeah.
'Cause it takes like a
That's
decent amount
solid.
to remove it. So I think she's got like and versus the current meta, right, where you want to have something like mortality to deal with Mandrak 3, for instance, like we've talked about, or you want to be able to just kill heavies at range before you get involved.
Sorry, I kind of interrupted Ben halfway. So you were saying you can add any buff that you want kind of before you add a caster. So you're assuming oracles.
You've got good caster still. And you've got that stupid spell on the Blight Archons, which has no right being in every list.
Dragon's Blood.
Well, actually, both of them. Like, seriously.
The bully one.
Okay, sorry, all three of them. I thought you were talking about Crimson Ballet, but yes, all three. The Blight Archon is way too good. The Blight Archon is way too good for its points. I'm not going to try to defend that thing. I think Legion got off the lightest with the nerfs, like a 1-point buff for the Blight Archon. Like, sure, I'll pay that.
And along that, you've got huge buffs on the Angelius. You've got the Ravagor.
I still don't think the Angelius is worth putting down. I want to love it, and it just disappoints me every time. It's such a
I mean, I think the Angelius would be an incredible model if Hermit didn't exist.
That's fair. Yeah.
Because you Hermit, it's one big attack, and then you go, all right.
Now what?
Yeah.
Yeah, because with a strength buff and no Hermit, it can one round a heavy, but it needs both things. Without a strength buff, it doesn't do it. Like, oh man, the Angel upsets me.
So Legion then are one of the three that you originally put in your S tier, the list.
Your S tier,
Ben.
Yeah, for me.
Like, I think there's a very solid argument for them to be there. Like.
Yeah, I could be swayed, especially I completely forgot about Cullis 1, and he asks such a different question to the rest of them.
Yeah, like
that it's
if you bring something to deal with like Bethane or with
or Chrissa or something like that. Yeah.
Abby 2's not become a bad caster.
Yeah, she's just been superseded by better Abby 2.
Yeah, I think Chris just like overshadows her, right? She just sends her beast so far and hits so fucking hard, and then has other things as well.
The
fact that you trivially get for very few points plus 4 inches of threat in every list is
the Seraph's expensive. I'll challenge you on that. The Mechano Shredder's trivial points, but the Seraph's are really expensive. That's a heavy. That's the points. That's the points of a heavy. It's 13 points for a support piece.
Okay.
That's expensive. We still pay it because you got no choice. But yeah,
because 4 inches extra threat in every list every turn is a good thing to have.
It's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot. Let's not kid.
So I'm gonna back up Ben then. Yeah, I think Legion.
I think we're going to S tier on Legion.
Back in the S tier.
You know what? You've convinced me.
So we're nearly through them, and then we'll look at how ridiculous the game is in a good way right now. Because currently we've got 5.
I mean, we've already got the heaviest category we've got is S tier. That's actually says good things.
I think so.
I mean, looking at what we've still got, I think that might be it.
I think we're done with the S tier. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think
we might be done with A.
We're on to the filler faction. So let's go on to Scorn then. So Scorn, what do we think? The top stuff still are Zal 2, which hasn't changed really at all.
Makeda Katz is coming back.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the list that you played into?
That was Xerxes Cats, which is actually really scary. That was really scary.
Xerxes 1 is a good caster now.
Yeah.
At Xerxes 1 with cataphracts and double cats, I think those cats have a 19-inch non-linear threat.
Yeah, and then obviously hit like Mack trucks at the end of it
because it's Xerxes. Yeah.
I think that's probably the scary thing is Zal 2, Xerxes 1, or maybe Makeda in there somewhere because of Madrak and other things you have to worry about.
The fat man is always scary.
Yeah, I think less so than it used to be.
I'm seeing quite a bit of Zakar, surprisingly.
Rasheth is the second best minions caster now.
Well, so that's what I was referring to as the fat man. But yes,
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's good
Yeah,
old. I love the Baron. I mean, I don't really care for the Scorn aesthetic, but I love the cats. I love the Hydra, and somehow, yeah, Baron Harkonnen in there just gets me.
Yeah.
He's great.
So what do we think? I think there's definitely scary lists to be had, but is there scary lists to be had that worry what you're going to bring, or that dictate?
I think they're scary enough to put them in A tier. I think they ask hard questions.
See, I think they top
no
out
higher.
as B. I think.
You think they top out to B?
Between B and C.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely think they're too strong for C.
I think everyone.
I could see B.
I think everyone has seen so many Zal games or played so many Zal games,
God,
and it hasn't changed. So you know how you deal with it, right? By now, if you
I
don't
think
know how to deal
even
with it,
squad players are sick of Zal.
Yeah.
We watched Zal lose loads over the VTC.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, that he is still one of their best, like, most reliable casters, but people have had such, like, they've seen him so many times that
He's solved. People know his game plan.
You know what you've got to bring, and then when you're winning, you know what you need to protect yourself against, and you just go, well, let's just make sure I'm outside of arcing freaking range.
Yeah.
At which
people
point
have seen him so much that people who picked up a new list.
I fall for it every time. But good players know what to do.
So,
I mean,
what do you think?
People have seen Zal so much that, you pick up a new list and you've been practicing it for 3 months. You play into Zal. You still know the Zal game plan better than your own models at this point.
Yeah. I think they slot as, I'd say they go in for B, just on the basis of a little bit like I said about Crix, where there's a lot of options for their off list, and sometimes you're just going to be like, what does this do again? And then their cats walk over and hit you at like power bazillion from 20 inches away, and you're like, oh shit, you've just killed all my heavies with your cats.
I mean, cool. The big thing that's changed for them is really the strength of Makeda Zero has opened up a lot of them.
She's well. All of the Zero casters, like I think they've done
the Zero locks were really big,
really powerful.
and
but not
Max Zero is amazing. Max Zero, I didn't give enough credit. Like +2 speed to any unit that you want. Like it's the Sorcerer Zero effect from Kador. It's really strong.
Yeah.
And her personal output is stupid.
Yes, she's a fucking. She's definitely got a lot of work in her.
I mean,
she's not going to sit back and just.
I mean, that game you talked about where I lost to Xerxes was basically on the back of not realizing just how much work you could get out of Makeda.
Yeah.
And just free up the Satrati. It's just really strong
piece indeed. Yeah. So I'm saying B. Where were you? Ben? You were between B and C. You said.
Ben was voting for C. I'm happy at
between B and C. B's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So that's where we'll land with Scorn, and now we're nearly there. So Grymkin. I think Grymkin are an awful lot of fun to play. And they've got some good matchups into like the current meta, right? So they're great. They're great in. The theory there is they're great into Madrak 3. But there's a lot of stuff above them that just shits on them. They still don't want to see a gun line. Like a gun line is like a really strong gun line is going to just hose Grymkin too much. Even through,
really?
Yeah.
Even through Krabbits and Sacrifice.
I think so. Yeah.
And Old Witch 3.
Yeah,
and...
I think so still. Like, well, always 3. Like, if you bring a super good gun line, you just kill Old Witch, right? You ignore
I've never been scared of a gun line with Grymkin. I'm scared of the long range stuff, like the old Aurora 2s.
There's a threat to get into melee.
Yeah. The stuff that's really scary in melee.
Yeah.
Like that just jumps on you and deletes half your army. Like the big Alpha Strike list, that's what's always scared me with Grymkin. I've never been scared of a good gun line.
Yeah, I guess. Well, so my take on it is stuff like I've seen Zakova 2 like delete 3 heavies or 3.5 heavies on feet turn, and then reposition back and reposition at the end. And go, well,
that's just dice spiking to hell. Let's be honest. That's insane.
I don't think it's to hell though. I think
Or was that a brick, or was that like your non-death knell kind of 6 clockatrice?
It was not death knell. Yeah, it was king of nothing. But
I don't
had,
see
like,
it doesn't work.
That
doesn't work through a brick. It doesn't work through the typical brick.
I don't know. I don't think you've got enough. Like, obviously, the tradition now is you take like one cage rager. So I guess maybe if you get to go first, so you can put at least an extra corpse on your cage rager, so you can cancel like the harms, and then you take ruin. Maybe you don't lose like so many heavies, but it still feels like you lose a lot of heavies.
I'd be quite comfortable putting down a Dreamer brick into, say, Zerx 2. I don't think she can crack that armor. That's not that. They're power 12s.
But they've got two lots of harm, and then probably like 2 to 4 lots of brittle frost.
Harm's hard to get through.
Do you think?
Really hard, yeah.
Telegraph Mark and what is it called?
Between Ruin and Arcane Vortex, that's really hard to land.
Yeah, but you've only got like so much, right? And she's got so many spells.
Yeah.
What are you gonna? Which one are you gonna ruin? Right? Are you just gonna ruin the first harm? Or Arcane Vortex if you can.
Well, you ruin.
You get rid of the harms.
You ruin at the point where it will upset Telgash Mark. Yeah. That's when you ruin.
Exactly.
So you need to, which means you need to rely on Arcane Vortex to stop the first one, and then
that's fine.
But maybe I'm wrong. But I
think she's only harming 1 heavy. And the others are armor 21. I think she's going to struggle to delete them.
2 harms and at least 2 brittle frost, right? So you got 4.
Oh, right. And you've got the brittle frosts as well. Okay, maybe.
You've got multiple armor debuffs, right? So you potentially have got like a 4-point armor swing on 2 heavies if you get to land everything. Obviously, right. If you're talking about you can't, but even so, you've still got like at least 4. So you can't stop them all. Is what I'm saying. At which point, when there's such a volume of attacks coming in, but anyway, I might be wrong, but that's one of the problems.
Yeah.
Right? So the other problems is like, what do you play into either Karchev, and not
God knows,
or into maybe Crucible Guard might be in a similar spot. But yeah, I don't feel they're in a good spot. I think they're a lot of fun to play still. I really enjoy them. Captain Ninja wants to say, Death Knell can hand out corpses to cage raiders. It can, but obviously, not really. It doesn't have time to hand out enough corpses. So if you go first or second, you're basically going to put a corpse on a cage raider.
You can't put out if you go second, you can't hand out anything. Yeah, it's only if you go first.
Yeah, you don't have the armor buff otherwise. Yeah, it's rough. Like
the buff gives you 1 if you go first, you can hand out 1 corpse. That's it. That's all the buff does.
Maybe if somehow like you can stall it enough so they've got to kill like some Krabbits and some Gremlins, so you actually have corpses on your cart to hand out and stack up the that seems like they're letting you do that.
You have timing issues. Like the turn they do that is the turn they're going to feat on you anyway.
I assume so. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, like I think the Dreadrot lists now are really cool and can definitely pack a punch and do a lot of work. But I don't feel in the current meta that they're particularly strong.
They still die a little easy, don't they?
Yeah. And a similar thing to what we say about Azal is that everyone by now has seen the tricks, right? If you're getting caught out with sacrifice, then you're either out of practice because you've not seen a Grimkin player locally, or or you're making the mistake, you're allowing them to do it, that sort of thing. So I don't know. What do you think? How good or bad do you think Grimkin are currently? Obviously, I've still got them. I'm not getting rid of my Grimkin. I love them.
I mean, I feel like they're a little better than you, but I haven't actually put them on the table since the update. I've been playing with other factions.
Yeah.
So
I think the trees are super strong. The Archons are super strong. Dreamer's still Dreamer.
Yep.
Where did I put them? I put them B because
I feel the same.
Yeah, I can accept that. I don't think they're like trash. I'm not saying they're like write them off. But I'm saying they've never really recovered from like the heyday when they first came out. They've never really got to peak again since, or yet anyway.
Yeah.
I'm happy with B for them. I think
they had a resurgence when the Nayslayers and the UA came out. When the UA came out for the Nayslayers, but they've fallen quite a bit since that heyday.
Yeah, and I'm with you. So we put in Grimkin at B, and then the last show is Minions. So these are anonymous. Obviously, you've just been playing them, Ben. So what do you think, mate?
I have. Yeah. If you like playing Rask, they're pretty good. and if you don't,
they're pretty bad.
It doesn't feel like.
Why does every Minion player hate playing Rask?
Because it's boring. He's not a fun caster to play. He relies on like 5 pieces to win in the game, and that is you cannot slip up on an activation.
Yeah, he's not very forgiving.
If you do, you lose one of his 4 heavies, or you lose an important support piece or an important arc, or one of the archons, and it's game done.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, there's no denying that Rask is good.
I think you're right. He seems like the opposite of Kruger, right? So when you're playing against Kruger's just waiting for you to make any one of multiple mistakes that lets him capitalize on it and shit all over you. And if you're playing Rask, you're skirting that line where you're trying not to make a mistake that snowballs the game away from you, where you could have won.
Yeah.
No, I think.
Yeah, it's. Other than that, I mean, we didn't touch on Vengeance of Dunia much when we were talking about trolls, because trolls don't really need it.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. VOD does so much for minions.
It does far more for minions than it does for trolls, definitely. So there are good lists in that. We can take. It would be a weird Madrak 3 list, but we could. We've got access to Cold Grimmer and things like that. Or
you have access to Doomy. I mean, Gunny 2 is, obviously the go-to that we've seen so much of.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Another list that's boring as all hell.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think for me, with Minions, you got a straight up choice to make between things that are fun or things that are good, with no
very little middle ground.
That Venn diagram is just 2 circles 3 miles apart.
Okay, so let's then zoom in. Assuming that you are the soulless bastard who says fun doesn't matter, and I'm picking the side of the Venn diagram that these things are good. So I don't know, playing a Rask Gunny 2 pairing. How would you rate them then?
Tricky for me based on what we've got on the table so far, because I think they're better than Convergence, but I think we've got Convergence far too high. So I would say probably B.
Okay. I think they're too strong for B. I think they'd have to be an A, just on the strength of all the Riot Quest solos they can bring, and the Archons, and just the strength of casters like Rask and Gunny 2. I think they're too strong for B.
I think it's really like I am literally on the fence between the pair of you. I'm not sure if I think they're quite there for A, or if they're not quite bad enough for B. I don't know. I think there's still like this. It's still some scary options for them. Yeah, especially because of the troll access. I think the troll access is what pushes them up.
Yeah.
So then let's come back to the Aurora 2 question.
Yeah.
If you want to play Vengeance of Dunia, why are you doing it in Minions rather than Trolls? The only answer to that question is Rask.
The answer is Rask. You actually have a good answer to that as opposed to the Aurora 2 question.
Yeah.
Like, Rask is a good answer there.
Is Rask better than Cold Grimmer and Madrak 3 in terms of taking a troll VOD list.
I mean, possibly. I actually do. I kind of think Rusk is. He asks a very different question. I mean, his feet ask such a hard question.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
It's
So I'll say let's put him at the top of B for now, and then let's do a little shuffle around and we'll see.
Yeah, we can do a reevaluate there.
So that's the lot of them as they are. So we're just gonna blitz through them and then just reshuffle.
What is the flames icon? Is that just a random
that was a
leftover?
spare one, yeah, just in case.
Oh, cool.
Obviously, Orgoth. We still really don't know anything about how the factions
Yeah, we know nothing about Orgoth, so clearly they're S tier, and we should all be running for the hills.
Or S plus maybe. Maybe an S plus tier.
Sky is falling. It seems we're on the internet. That's the only appropriate response.
In the States, they're S tier. In the EU, we can't get any of the models. So
so they should.
So if we think about, I think this is a legitimate consideration, and we should talk about it for a minute. Is obviously all of the limited factions that have come out when people are wanting to play competitively and go, well, you think about the end of the season coming is the WGC. So can you play the new power faction that's just come out in the summer at the WGC? So obviously Grimkin had most of their stuff available and they could be played, and they absolutely wiped the floor with pretty much everyone that they played against at the WGC for the first time. Like no one knew how to play against them at that time, and it took a good while to do so. And even though they didn't have everything on in the faction available, they had enough that they could literally come out swinging, and people just didn't know how to play against them, didn't know how to deal with them, and just got rolled. But yeah, we saw obviously there was some stuff that came out after WTC, and then Crucible Guard, as we said, didn't really come out as particularly strong. So I think they're a bit of.
I think there were like 5 Crucible Guard players at that.
Yeah, and they were basically just like another. Like they were too close to Signar, but not as good as Signar at the time. Still, I think to worry about.
I think they were better than Signar at the time, but Signar was really shit at the time.
Maybe. But again, it was a chunk of the faction available, and then the rest coming like during the winter, and then Infernals came, and obviously we're busted as all fuck.
Busted as hell.
Yeah,
no. The problem with Infernals,
but they didn't have much available.
And specifically, a lot of solos were missing.
Yeah, so Princess wasn't Princess Grabjoy, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the gate was available.
That's a big one to be missing. The factions built around that gate.
Yeah, so there was a bunch of things missing. So I think the people that did play them did really well because they were still very strong and people hadn't had the time against them, generally speaking. But
also they had a really high skill cap.
Yeah.
Like a really high skill floor, which was the real problem. Like if you picked up Infernals and didn't know what you were doing, you would get rolled.
Yeah.
But if you actually knew if you were playing someone who really knew what they were doing, it was just hideous.
Yeah. But like this year, obviously Orgoth we're gonna see the first spoilers about Orgoth this month, and then we'll see obviously as it comes. But the WCC is later, so is it going to make enough difference, right? So I think the problem is, in a nutshell, what Ben has said, that Orgoth aren't going to be feasibly available to anyone in Europe for WCC because obviously they're going to come out around like lock and load, so August-ish, right? When they were released last time. So you've got to be able to get them, but the only way you're going to get them in time is to get them direct from PP. But still, it's not a simple process right now, especially like the state of the world and of postage and delays. Like to get everything you want, even if it all is available straight away, and to get it there and painted, I think it's going to be a real stretch for anyone in Europe. If you can rock up at the conventions and buy everything like right then and there, then it's a different ball game for you. But I think they're going to be really limited in how many Orgoth lists we can see. But That might be wrong, yeah. And it'd be super cool if it was wrong. It'd mean that that some of the shipping problems and distribution problems we've seen in the past have maybe been sort of tackled.
Yeah.
But well, we'll see. But
I'm
I wouldn't expect.
I'm less excited for a new faction. I want to just see them sort out their distribution hassles.
Yeah, I do have a deep love of like basically chaos demon loving Vikings, which sounds like what they are, right? So
It does sound cool.
Well, also, and also, 16 factions is just a really nice number, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot in there.
Don't tempt me like this, man. I'm staring at my model case. I've got 5 factions here. Like,
you've just told us you've got
do
like
this
a
to me.
bazillion cricks, and you haven't played them in like 10 years, so you may as well.
I know.
Get them.
Fix cricks, man.
Get them
Fix
off
cricks.
now and make some room in your cupboard.
No, that's not going to happen. No.
You're a hoarder, Evan, but we love you for it. Right, so let's go through what we've got and shuffle around where we think. So let's start with the S tier. So we've got currently Kador, Crucible Guard, Circle, Ret, and Legion. What do we think is at the absolute pinnacle of the game right now? Which faction is the one that takes that top spot?
I think the top 2 is right.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you.
And then I'd probably go Legion. I'd go Legion third.
You'd put Legion ahead of Circle. I could see either way, but I mean, I wouldn't fight hard for which one is at which spot, frankly.
Yeah, I think Circle and Legion
they're both in such good spots.
Are close, and then Ret sort of finishes off the tier.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Then again, you guys talked me up to S for them, so that's why I'm over there. So
yeah, cool.
So I'll agree. We'll go for Kador, Crucible Guard, Legion, Circle, Ret.
Yeah.
And then A tier is currently Trolls, Signar, Cricks, and Mercenaries.
I think.
Sorry, I have to ask the question again. It's a brief question. Do we really feel Signar owns their place in that company? Do we really feel they're strong enough to hold up there with Trolls and Karchev to Cricks?
Put him at the bottom of the A tier.
Yeah.
Just to keep him happy.
Fine.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think Trolls are the top of that tier, and then that order feels right. Cricks.
Yeah.
Cricks, Mercs.
Trolls, Karchev 2, Mercs,
Signar. Yeah. I'll go with you for that. And then B tier, we've got Minions, Convergence, Scorn, and Grimkin. I think you've made it clear you think Convergence should be at the bottom of that list at best.
I wouldn't argue with that. I would put Grimkin at the top of that list.
You think? Above
I think they do enough. Yeah, I think the trees have done enough for them to put them above Minions and Scorn.
What do you think, Ben?
I could go with that. I think
popped. So Grimkin, Minions, Scorn, and then Convergence.
Yeah, that sounds right. And then the other two
and then Menoth,
and then the other two are
Menoth sat at its own at sea, and Infernals.
Menoth and Infernals just crying for some help.
Yeah. So there we go. So let's quickly run through it. So the S tier, which looks fantastic because this shows how many good things are playing the game. Right?
I mean, this is a really healthy looking environment,
so
honestly.
Kador, Crucible Guard, Legion, Circle, and Ret. A is Trolls, Cricks, Mercenaries, and Signar. B, as I lose my voice, is Grimkin, Minions, Scorn, and Convergence, Osiris, and then C is Menoth. D is Infernals.
Like only 2 factions that you don't really consider kind of, competitive tourney worthy. Like, that's a really healthy meta.
This doesn't look good for Zilver, a player in the UK who plays Menoth and Infernals.
Yeah,
no, it doesn't. There's always someone who's just carrying the wrong end of it, but yeah.
Yeah, it looks strong. I think it speaks volumes for how much good the update did, and how a couple of tweaks here and there have brought things out of the gutter and onto the table in like a really strong way, which is cool. I think
I don't know what Luke's doing crying faces about, but we've obviously upset him at some
It
point.
was about you say that that Convergence is probably doesn't deserve even a B spot, and I've argued for it.
Right, fair enough.
But,
shame.
you just talked about Zil, right, being one of the people that holds the flag for their faction and will
You're right.
not let it go. But yeah, I'm kind of there with my love for Aurora is strong still, so I'm there with a sad face with Luke for sure.
You love her so much you sold it. Yeah.
I've kept an Aurora one. I've kept an Aurora one because I like the normal one and the mini crate. So I've kept a.
You know what? I also kept Mini Crate Aurora 1 because it's a gorgeous.
It is gorgeous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've also got
What's that look like?
I've also got an Iron Mother and a Primaxium just because I want to paint them. I think they're.
I now need to see non-metallic Newman. Let's see what she looks like. Oh, that is a gorgeous mini. You are 100% right.
Cool one, for sure.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's our little. That's our hot take. That's our post update and the new meta analysis, the tier list for Warmachine Hordes 2022. We'll see how well it keeps. I think in 6 months' time. Well, in 6 months' time, everyone's packing for the fucking WTC, right? So it's not really long when you look at it like that.
No.
Do we know when lists and stuff have to be submitted? I don't know. Like I assume like June, July. Lists have got to be in, so we really don't have very long to see if things like what the off list is for Crix or what the optimal list is for Kador.
That will be interesting.
I think this is going to be
we'll get to see how upset both Convergence players are at me. It's
this is I think this is going to be like the spiciest WTC like comeback where there's going to be a lot of lists that people are going to be like. What does
There'll
this
be a
do?
lot of dark horsing, dark horsey stuff.
Yeah, when lists come out, people will be like trying to work out exactly what this fucking like crazy ass list does, and then you're like, what?
The spiciest ones, right? That first one in Mark III, or the one where that huge dynamic update came about a week before the WTC.
Oh God, that was crazy.
It was wild.
It's wild. I think we're going to be seeing some wild lists this year as well, though. Like the Polish who are famous for bringing the craziest jank, I think are going to continue to bring bonkers lists that people are going to be like, how the fuck do we deal with that, or what does the fuck does it do? And I'd be surprised if we don't see a bit of that from multiple places in the world.
Will we see anything like that Sweden team from must be 5 or 6 years ago that was 5 Cricks?
No.
I don't. You can't duplicate casters, can you?
No. That's the difference. That's worth noting. Yeah. So obviously, Old Witch in Grimkin and Kador was Old Witch 2 and 3, whereas Deathchev is just Deathchev. There's no difference. You can't take both.
Oh, interesting. So you can't duplicate Crix and Kador or Deathchev.
You can bring one. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I don't know if that was like a design intent that they thought about. I would.
No, the team format is playable. They can't take that into account.
The only reason that Old Witch breaks it and is different is because her card is different, because it has to be to refer to war beasts and warjacks.
Yeah, for respawn
but she's got some different abilities as well.
Machinery, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's got different machinery, and I think 2 of her spells are different as well.
Respawn versus,
I think
wherever it's called, but that's just like the equivalent, right?
Oh no, that's just a name change. No, I thought one of the spells might have been different. But definitely there's a different arcane machinery because you don't have. I think it's called Hellhole in Grimkin.
No, Hellhole Grimkin have, which brings Warmongers back.
Yes, and Kador don't have that. They've got something else. She actually has a different card.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I think we're done there for the night. I think that's covered everything we need to. So if you've watched our tier list, hopefully It's been enjoyable, and I'll tell you something. Come and chat to us on YouTube and tell us if you think your faction has been grievously grievously stuck at the bottom of the pile, or if you
tell us how wrong we are.
Tell us how wrong we are.
We had a lot of fun fighting with the Crix community who thought we had done them ill last time.
And
feel free to jump on us.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks for watching. If you want to support us, just follow us and like us and subscribe to do shit like that. Feed the social media gods. And I am Dan, and I've been here with Ben and Evan, and it's been a pleasure. And we'll see you for the next one. Good night, guys.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Good night, folks.